like to call the Harbor Freight Airbrush and Compressor Kit 2 years later. I've had this for over 2 years. I bought it in the summer of 2010, actually. And so it's been, 26 months or so that I've had this. And it still runs like new. I mean, I haven't had any problems with the compressor whatsoever. It's always there right when I need it. Just plug it in and away I go. But then, on the other hand, I really haven't used it a whole lot either. Normally I only use it for maybe a couple hours a week at the most. And never more than like 30 minutes at a time. The only time I've used this for more than 40 minutes at a time was when I was doing the Stompa. I used it for like 4 hours straight, and towards the end it was getting really hot. I was getting some moisture problems towards the end of that project. That's just from the nature of compressing air. It generates a lot of heat, and it generates a lot of moisture. But other than that, it's been absolutely wonderfully reliable, and it's actually starting to get what I thought was rust originally from that first video was just actually just the gasket showing through. It's actually getting some rust in there now, but I said it's been 2 years, so it's really not that big a deal. This doesn't actually trap a whole lot of moisture from what I found. Which fortunately there hasn't been a whole lot of moisture to be trapped. What has done most of the work though is this. This is a little Pash inline filter. It cost me $10 shipped off eBay, and this has been great. This has really solved almost all my issues. We have to cut the hose and then just put it on. This hose though has actually broken a few times right here at these joints. It will actually over time just rip off and just pop off. So then I have to get off another ½ inch of hose and stick it back on. But it's happened a couple times, and so maybe a little higher quality hose wouldn't do that. Or maybe if I got an actual hose, or you got like a small meter hose to go on it instead of cutting this one. But that's really been the only downside. This captured all the moisture I need. This really takes care of all the issues that I might have with the air compressor and moisture. So that's been really awesome. I have some questions about the regulator. Regulator really doesn't regulate so much as it just opens up. This thing opens up here on the bottom, lets some air out, and you're able to, you just run the airbrush, you open this up a little bit so that it's running the constant pressure that you want. It's effective. I mean, it does get the job done. It does reduce the pressure when you need it, when you're doing that fine detail work. It's kind of cheesy, but, it's effective at what it does. So you really can't complain about something that works. So that's the compressor. Still runs like great. Still runs great. No problems. Let's talk about the airbrush. This has been the most used airbrush I have. I have 2 others. I'll talk about those here in just a minute. But this is the most used airbrush I have, and I have to say, it still works flawlessly, just like it came out of the package. I do have some issues on getting things cleaned up. I really need an ultrasonic cleaner to get down into the deep recesses. And other than that, I did soak it in some Windex the last time I used it, and that really seemed to help a lot. I just let it sit there and soak in there for like a couple hours. I rinsed it out really good with water, and ever since then it's just been even better. So buildup of crap is definitely an issue, but that's going to be an issue with whatever airbrush you use. My latest project was when I airbrushed the snowshoe for my Orcs and Goblins army. This painted that entire thing. That's where this is really excels. You got this nice big jar here. You fill it up with paint, and you can just go and go and go. So this literally painted that entire thing all by itself. And I used like 2 full bottles of the cheap craft paint from Michael's. Just completely emptied both of them with just through this. So that's kind of workhorse this thing really is. Not a single problem with the airbrush. Again, results aren't necessarily typical, because these are really cheap products, and some people, like me, most of the time these things will work like this for a long time with some proper care. And there are some people who just don't get that lucky, and they have problems with it right away. And it's not that big a deal. If you have problems with it, you take it back, or if not, you're out $15. I mean, it's not a lot of money for something that just simply, most of the time anyway, works. There are lots of reviews online for these things. A lot of people buy them, and most of the time, like I said, they get really good reviews. And I'm going to add myself to that because 2 years later, lots of cleaning, lots and lots of painting. I've done almost everything with this brush, except for the absolute finest detail on some of my lava bases. I use my master brush. But everything else, this just works. I mean, it's got a small enough tip that it gets the detail work in, combined with the lower pressure. The only thing that the master brush is better, of course, it has a gravity feed cup. The cup is kind of annoying when you use it, so using small amounts of paint in this really doesn't work like it would from like a gravity feed brush. But any sort of large area, lots of work, this thing is just awesome. Not a problem at all. So that's the Harbor Freight Airbrush and Compressor Kit. 2 years later, no issues whatsoever. I wish I could say the same for my master airbrush. So we're going to talk about what happens when you don't get the best assembly line product. This is my Master G44, and this is this came in a kit that had 0.2, 0.3, and 0.5 needles in it. And for a long time, for probably the first year, this thing is just absolutely amazing. I actually use this a little bit more than the other one, because when you're doing smaller amounts of paint, having the gravity feed cup is a lot easier to deal with. So you don't have to mix up a whole lot when you're only going to spray a little bit. But now, unfortunately, it doesn't work anymore. It might just need a thorough cleaning. It might have a split O-ring there I can't find. But it doesn't shoot any paint out the top. It just burbles air into the cup, which means something is blocked. I can't find out where. I let this soak just like I did the Master Airbrush. The Master Airbrush got better. This didn't change, so I think this is actually broken, which I'm still not going to complain about. It only cost me $40. It was really awesome when it worked. That's kind of disappointing. So if anyone knows how, maybe I just still need, maybe once I do get an ultrasonic cleaner, I can throw this in there and it will unclog. I'm not sure. I have a repair kit. Has extra springs and O-rings, so if I do need to fix something, I have the parts to fix it. Because I wouldn't mind getting this thing back up and running. So anyway, that's the Master G44. When it worked, it was just flawless. It's a great little airbrush. And it's also quite a bit heavier than the Harbor Freight one, which can actually, a couple times actually led to a little bit of fatigue in my hands. If you're not doing this all the time, I guess, the heavier the airbrush, the harder it was on me. So anyway, I do hope to get that one back up and running sometime. My last airbrush, which I won in Scale Model Attic contest in 2011, was this Badger 105. And this is it. And unfortunately, I'm not really all that happy with it, to be honest. I keep trying and I just can't get any detail with it. It came with two little nozzles. This is a completely different design than the other airbrushes, by the way, because this cap holds in the nozzle. The nozzle is actually not screwed in. It just kind of sits into a seat, or fits into a seat, and then it's held in place by the cap. So it's a completely different design than the other two airbrushes. And I just can't seem, I don't know if it's me or what, but I just can't seem to get the detail with this that I can with either of the other two. I also had to get an adapter because the Badger airbrush actually uses a different size hose fitting. There's actually 3 different size airbrush fittings. You have the Iwata size, the Apache size, and the Badger size. And Badger makes adapters so you can put their brushes on any size hose. So this is the Iwata size, or Apache size, I think. I can't remember now. But anyway, yeah, I don't remember which, but so I had to buy an adapter from Badger to get it to be able to screw it onto my hose. And unfortunately, the adapter doesn't really seal very well, so this leaks quite a bit of air. I don't know if that's contributing to it or not. But yeah, so far, just using it though, it's definitely a lot more comfortable than the other two airbrushes to use, but I'm just not very happy with the results, unfortunately. So that could be me, that could be the air leak, I'm not sure. But anyway, so those are the other two airbrushes I've tried on this thing. So far so good. Again, whatever I've asked it to do is done very well. In fact, I've even used this as an air compressor to blow out some dust from computers before. So it's even been good for that. So that's about going to cover part 4 of and my final part of the Harbor Freight airbrush kit. Again, I'm extremely happy with the product I bought. I'm extremely happy that it's worked flawlessly for 2 years now. It's been worth every penny I put on it, and so that's about it. Hopefully it'll keep going for a long time. The one thing I would think about doing though is I keep looking at these things, and there's no reason why you can't just add a tank to these things. I've been looking online. Getting an air tank really isn't that hard. They have little air tanks for like automotive suspension systems. You get like a half-gallon tank with just a whole bunch of NPT fittings on it. So I don't see why there'd be any reason to just, take off this fitting, run a little hose to a half-gallon or 1-gallon air tank you can buy online to an NPT fitting, and then run this on the other side of it. You can just add a tank. I don't know. I'm going to give it a try eventually, because I'd rather just not get a whole nother compressor. But if I can just get just a tank, it might be fun too, to see how well it works. Yeah, so now that's it. That's all I'm going to talk about. Thanks for watching.